Welcome to our deep dive into Mustafa Suleyman's book, The Coming Wave.
Oh, this is going to be good.
It's fascinating. We're going to, really unpack his ideas about this new ways of AI
Right.
and synthetic biology.
Yeah.
Explore how these things could completely reshape our world.
And this isn't just, some techie sci-fi fantasy. I mean, this is
We're-
Suleyman. He co-founded DeepMind, the
Exactly.
company behind some of the biggest breakthroughs in AI. So he's right there. He's right at the heart of it.
He's not just theorizing, right?
Just.
He's got his finger on the pulse.
Yeah.
And what he's saying is both exciting and a little bit, I don't know, terrifying. He believes we're on the verge of engineering
Ah.
life and intelligence itself.
Think about that for a second. We're not just talking about faster computers,
Right.
new gadgets. This is about altering the very building blocks of our world.
It's like we're standing at the edge of something massive, something that could solve some of humanity's biggest problems.
Right.
But also unleash, these unprecedented risks. It's like, where do we even begin? How do we unpack something this big?
Well, Suleiman argues that to kind of prepare for the future, we need to understand the patterns of the past.
Okay.
He points out that history is full of these technological waves, moments where new innovations, they transform society.
Like, give me an example of one.
Okay, so think about the printing press. Before the printing press came along, knowledge was mostly confined to a small elite.
Okay.
But once books became widely available,
Yeah.
information spread like wildfire,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Led to the Renaissance, the scientific revolution,
Wow.
ultimately the modern world as we know it.
So those moments of technological disruption are kind of like earthquakes that reshape the landscape.
Exactly.
And we're about to experience another one.
Exactly. But here's the thing. Each of these waves is driven by what Suleyman calls a general purpose technology. Think about language.
Okay.
Agriculture, the internet, these are all innovations that become so fundamental, so woven into the fabric of life, we don't even notice them anymore.
It's like the electricity that powers our homes.
Yeah.
We just take it for granted.
Exactly right. But imagine life without it.
Yeah, no, I don't even want to.
These general purpose technologies, they're the invisible engines that drive progress. And according to Suleyman, we're not on the cusp of one.
Oh,
We're on the cusp of a whole cluster of these GPTs converging.
a supercluster, he calls it.
A super cluster.
And the two big players are AI and synthetic biology.
Exactly, and they feed into each other,
Okay.
accelerating progress at an exponential rate. So you've got AI being used to design new biological systems,
Right.
and those systems in turn are being used to create even more powerful AI.
It's like a positive feedback loop on overdrive.
It is.
So we've got these two incredibly powerful forces, AI and synthetic biology, rapidly evolving, converging, creating this massive wave of change. I mean, where do we even begin to understand the impact of all of this?
Well, let's start with AI, right?
Okay.
Remember DeepMind's AlphaGo, the AI that beat a world champion Go player a few years back?
Oh, yeah.
That was a major wake-up call for a lot of people. It showed that AI could tackle problems that we once thought were uniquely human.
Yeah.
And AI has only gotten more powerful since then, right? Now we've got large language models like ChatGPT.
I use that all the time.
Right, that can write like humans. They
Yeah.
can translate languages, summarize complex information. They can even diagnose medical conditions with impressive accuracy.
Yeah, it's kind of mind-blowing what these systems can do. I even used one to help me write a song the other day.
I mean, it's amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing.
And it's only going to get more sophisticated. But as these systems become more powerful, they also raise some big questions.
Like what?
How do we make sure these AI systems are used for good, not
Mm.
for harm, right? And how do we even prepare for a future where AI is capable of doing many of the things that humans currently do?
Okay, so AI is one part of the equation.
Right.
What about synthetic biology? What kind of transformations are we talking about there?
Okay, so think of it this way. We've been manipulating biology for centuries
Right.
through agriculture, animal breeding, even medicine, right?
Yeah.
But with synthetic biology, we're talking about engineering life itself at a much deeper level.
Suleyman talks about creating new materials with engineered viruses,
Yeah.
growing organs in labs, and even bringing back extinct species.
It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It does. It really does.
But it's happening. What's even more remarkable is the speed at which this field is advancing. CRISPR gene editing, for example.
Yeah.
That's revolutionized the field, made it cheaper, faster, and more accessible than ever before.
So not only are we manipulating life, but we're making the tools to do so available to more people.
And that raises a whole set of ethical and societal questions, right? What happens when anyone with a bit of knowledge and equipment can start modifying organisms? What are the potential risks? Who gets to decide what's acceptable and what's not?
So we've got these two powerful forces, AI and synthetic biology, rapidly evolving, converging. We've got this incredible potential for progress, but also a whole lot of unknowns and potential risks.
Right.
It feels like we're heading into uncharted territory.
Suleyman calls it the coming wave, and he argues that it's unlike anything we've ever seen before. It has the potential to reshape our world in profound ways, but it also presents a fundamental challenge.
And the challenge is
Containment.
containment.
Yeah.
What exactly does he mean by that?
Well, remember those general purpose technologies we talked about?
Yeah.
They tend to spread very rapidly.
Okay.
And they become very deeply embedded in our lives, making them very difficult to control or regulate.
So he's saying that with AI and synthetic biology, it's not just about managing like specific applications or products. It's about containing an entire wave of technological change that's already in motion.
Exactly.
And that's a much bigger, more complex challenge than we've ever faced before. So how do we even begin to wrap our heads around something this big? How do we contain something that's constantly evolving and spreading?
That's a great question, and it's one that we'll explore in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, stay tuned. We'll unpack Suleyman's ideas on containment and look at what it might take to navigate this coming wave safely and responsibly. Okay, so we've established this coming wave of AI and synthetic biology is a pretty big deal.
It is.
And containing it won't be easy.
Right.
But like, where do we even start?
Well, Suleyman lays out a 10-step plan in his book.
10 steps.
10 steps.
Wow.
And he emphasizes this isn't like a quick fix.
Okay.
More like a long-term strategy that'll need everyone on board.
Everything.
Governments, companies, researchers, even everyday people like you and me.
Everyone. I mean, I can barely keep up with my social media feed.
Right.
How am I supposed to contribute to containing this massive technological wave?
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
It can feel overwhelming, but one thing Suleyman suggests is building safety features directly into these technologies. Think of it like installing guardrails on a powerful machine.
So like an off switch for a rogue AI.
Exactly. Things like air gaps, sandboxes, simulations.
Yeah.
All mechanisms to limit unintended consequences or malicious use.
Okay.
But it also goes beyond the purely technical.
What do you mean?
Well, he also talks about the importance of building these technologies responsibly from the ground up,
Okay.
addressing things like bias in large language models, for example.
Right.
That requires a deep understanding of the social and ethical implications of these systems.
Like we can't just rely on algorithms to magically solve all the problems.
Right.
We need to think about the human element too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that brings us to another step, monitoring and auditing.
Okay.
Suleyman argues for a system that can rigorously test and track the development and deployment of these technologies.
So like having independent inspectors.
Yes,
Making sure safety protocols are followed.
precisely. But with something as complex and fast-moving as AI,
Right.
where do you even start?
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
It seems like an impossible task.
It's definitely challenging.
Yeah.
Suleyman suggests focusing on the data sets used to train AI models,
Okay.
tracking research publications, and keeping an eye out for any publicly available information on harmful incidents.
Okay.
It's about being proactive, spotting potential problems before they blow up.
Okay. That makes sense. But you'd need a ton of collaboration for that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like between governments and companies.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's where Suleyman's idea of choke points comes in.
Choke points.
Choke points.
What is that?
He argues that we need to identify those strategic control points in the development and supply chains of these technologies.
Okay, give me an example.
Okay, think about those super powerful computer chips that drive AI development.
Okay, yeah.
A handful of companies control key parts of the chip-making process.
So if you can influence those companies,
Yes,
you could potentially slow down or redirect the development of AI.
exactly. It buys time to put stronger regulations in place.
But wouldn't that make us vulnerable?
Mm.
Like, what happened with global supply chains during the pandemic?
That's a great point.
Yeah,
Suleyman recognizes that over-reliance on a single company or country
right.
creates a dangerous point of failure.
Yeah.
He emphasizes the need for diversification and resilience in these critical supply chains.
Okay, so it's a balancing act.
It is.
You need to identify those control points,
Uh-huh.
but you also need to make sure the system as a whole can handle disruptions.
Right.
But even if we can figure out the technical side,
Yeah.
how do we actually govern these technologies? I mean, traditional regulations seem pretty outdated when it comes to something as fast-moving as AI.
Suleiman acknowledges that
Okay.
and proposes new forms of governance.
Like what?
Remember when he tried to create that global interest company model at DeepMind?
Yeah, he wanted to spin DeepMind out of Google
Right.
and create a more transparent and accountable structure with independent oversight.
Exactly. And that ultimately didn't work out.
He also helped set up a Google AI Ethics Council, but that collapsed after some internal disputes.
So it sounds like even with the best intentions,
Yeah.
it's hard to build effective governance mechanisms within the existing power structures.
It definitely highlights the challenges. You've got this tension between the openness that drives innovation and the need for control and oversight.
Yeah.
Suleyman argues we need to find a way to balance these two forces.
So more checks and balances to make sure these technologies are being developed responsibly.
That's the idea. He proposes things like licensing requirements for developers of advanced AI or synthetic biology technologies,
Right.
kind of like what we have for nuclear power plants.
Yep.
He also suggests government-funded red teams
Red team.
to test for vulnerabilities in these systems.
It's interesting. And since the coming wave is a global phenomenon,
Right.
you need international cooperation too, right?
Absolutely. He calls for international alliances to harmonize regulations, share information on best practices, and address risks together.
Makes you wonder if organizations like the UN are up to the task.
It's a valid concern. Suleyman acknowledges the limitations of traditional international structures,
Yeah.
but he believes we have to start somewhere.
Right.
He points to the global efforts to regulate germline gene editing as a potential model.
So building those alliances and frameworks now,
Yeah.
even if they're imperfect,
Right.
is crucial for tackling the challenges ahead.
It is.
What else does he suggest?
Well, a big part of it is about shifting the culture around technological development.
Okay.
He argues that we need to move beyond the move fast and break things mentality that's been so prevalent in Silicon Valley.
It sounds like he's calling for a more responsible approach to innovation.
Exactly. He uses the aviation industry as an example.
Okay.
A strong culture of safety and rigorous testing has dramatically reduced accidents in aviation.
Wow.
He thinks we need a similar approach for AI and synthetic biology.
So encouraging developers and researchers to think about the potential risks and long-term consequences of their work.
Right. And he also emphasizes the importance of public engagement.
Okay.
This isn't just a problem for tech experts to solve.
Right.
It affects all of us.
Yeah.
He calls for a global movement demanding responsible development and deployment of these technologies.
So it's about individuals becoming more informed and engaged,
Yes.
holding these powerful institutions accountable.
Exactly.
But where do we fit into all this?
That's what we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll look at how you as an individual can contribute to shaping this coming wave
Right.
and ensuring these technologies are used to build a better future.
Sounds good. Stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive.
Right.
Okay, so we've talked about this coming wave
Right.
of AI and synthetic biology and Suleyman's 10 steps toward containment. But I got to be honest, it all still feels a bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
What can I actually do to make a difference?
You know, that's the question, isn't it? And Suleyman doesn't shy away from it. He really doesn't.
Okay.
He argues that we can't just sit back and wait for governments and corporations to solve this, right?
Right.
We need a movement of informed and engaged citizens
Oh, wow.
who demand responsible development of these technologies.
So it's like a call to action.
It is.
But where do we even begin? I mean, I'm not a scientist or a policy expert.
You don't have to be.
Good.
The first step is education.
Okay.
There are tons of resources out there, books, articles, podcasts, even online courses
Right.
that can help you understand the basics of AI and synthetic biology.
Okay, so I can start by, learning more about these technologies.
Right.
And their potential impact.
Exactly. The more you understand, the better equipped you'll be to engage in these conversations.
Okay.
And that's the next step, talking about it.
Okay.
Share what you're learning with your friends, family, colleagues, even your elected officials.
So like spreading awareness and getting people thinking about these issues.
Right. Because the more we talk about it, the more we normalize these conversations. And that creates pressure for those in power to take action.
Yeah, it's like that saying, sunlight is the best disinfectant.
Exactly. And another powerful way to contribute is by supporting organizations that are working on the front lines of containment.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
there are groups doing amazing work on AI safety, biosecurity, responsible innovation, ethical guidelines, you name it.
So, like, I could donate to those organizations, volunteer my time,
Mm-hmm.
or even just help spread the word about their work.
Absolutely. Every little bit helps. And don't underestimate the power of your consumer choices,
That's
right?
right.
Think about the companies you support.
Yeah.
Are they developing and using AI and synthetic biology responsibly?
So I can, like, vote with my wallet, so to speak.
Exactly.
Support companies that align with my values.
Yes. And finally, don't be afraid to use your voice. Contact your elected officials. Participate in public forums. Engage in online discussions.
So it's about making my concerns heard, demanding a future where technology serves humanity.
You know, Suleiman reminds us that throughout history, social movements have been a powerful force for change.
Yeah.
And this is no different. We need to be active and engaged citizens demanding a future where technology is used for good.
So it's not just about, being informed, but about taking action.
Yes.
Even small actions can make a difference.
That's the message of hope in all of this, you know?
Yeah.
We're not powerless. We have agency. The future is not predetermined.
It's something we create together through our choices and actions.
Exactly. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought from Suleyman.
Okay.
He argues that this coming wave isn't just a technological challenge, it's a reflection of our own humanity.
What do you mean?
The choices we make about these technologies, they'll reveal our values, our fears, our aspirations. Will we succumb to the lure of power and control, or will we rise to the challenge
Yeah,
of creating a more just and equitable future?
that's a powerful question,
It is.
and one that I think we all need to ask ourselves.
You know, it's a journey we're all on together.
Right.
So keep learning, keep asking questions, keep engaging, and keep demanding a future worthy of our shared humanity.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. I know I learned a lot, and I hope you have too.
Me too.
Until next time, keep exploring,
Yeah.
keep questioning, and keep pushing for a better future.